We have learned a lot from the conversations between Coach Ru and our love givers. But before that, if you missed out on the previous episode, I suggest you go back to the Life Tula podcast and watch the episode with Coach Ru. And so now, after a whole afternoon of dialogue, discussion, hard conversations, it's time to hear the questions from our audience. So, Coach Ru, if you're ready, I think we have some questions for you. So, do we have any questions for Ru or for one another?
How do we manage the feeling of guilt when we take care of ourselves before taking care of others? Or how do you do that?
I have to tell you, it's an ongoing process and we are only human. So it's going to happen. We sometimes feel guilty because we feel like we're neglecting somebody else. If you take a look at you recharging yourself so you can give more, how does that look? It looks better. So saying, I have to do this. I'm sorry. You might need me at this moment. I have nothing to give you. I can be 1000% if I do this thing for myself. I can come back and I can give fully. If you can't, you can't. It's a great question because so many people are struggling with that. I struggle with that. We have to keep reminding ourselves daily that it's so important. And the more you go into that habit, the more you will realize that it's just absolutely so necessary. And you will put a smile on your own face and you'll be able to put smiles on those around you as well. Anyone else?
Culturally, because I think we were brought up to be giving instead of sometimes receiving. And that's something that, that's why I find myself now discovering things from before. And then I would like to correct that. In fact, even though it's not necessary, but I shared boundaries because I even found myself talking to friends and really pruning who are my real friends. So I'm setting boundaries now. And one thing that I discovered is really, it's how we were brought up. So how do you culturally influence, maybe, may not be the right term, influence or start changing that culture maybe in the family? Instead of giving, not just, giving and receiving, I think we were brought up just to give, share, even without knowing how it is to own something. When someone will give you something, you always obligated to share it right away.
The whole world's perspective, especially since COVID, has changed quite a bit towards mental health and towards better and wellness and to be a better version. Your parents and your family, as they are now, have been living life in the way that they were trained to do. So is it wrong? No. That's what they know. So you getting to the point where you realize I have to start setting boundaries, you are breaking the pattern. So great for you. It's amazing. The other people who's been going see you breaking the pattern and they think, who's this guy? Which is normal. So compassion towards them for not knowing better and for just doing what they've been conditioned to do, okay? As well as maybe changing your exposure to it for a while. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you don't have battery capacity at this moment to handle it, maybe you plan an adventure away from that for a while to go and recharge so that you can spend a little bit more time there, maybe over the holidays or whatever. But otherwise, the power that you have within yourself is to time the amount of exposure to that. Does that make sense? I'm not saying write off your family, not at all. Family is everything. It's really important. You wouldn't be here without them, right? So, but we can't blame them for expecting certain things because they've always done that. But amazing that you are breaking the pattern from it and you take it forward now. So people will probably or hopefully see through your example and they would think, okay, maybe. They want what's best for you. So maybe, you never know, maybe somebody's just thinking, wow, it really seems to work for you. Does that make sense? Does that help?
May I ask the others to share an answer if this has worked for you, Yona?
I find this to be such an interesting question because I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in Australia. So my perspective is quite unique in the sense that I'm very much Filipino and proud of it, but I can see the different nuances of those who've grown up here compared to overseas. And one of the things that I strive to do is to really lead by example. So when there are things that I can change, especially now as a mum to two young kids, they can really see. So if I have those strong boundaries, if I have compassion for myself and for others, they'll start to see that. And then they'll mirror that. So it's just recognizing the things that I can change, recognizing the things, the things we want to see in the world that we want to change, and then actually do it. And then hopefully, just like what you said, the people around us will go, oh, wait, that's another way of living. Hang on, I might try that. And it's just that ripple effect. So for me, I always look at how do I influence my own family, especially my two little kids. And then from there, they become good citizens. And then it becomes the community, and then the country, and then the world. It's just that little thing those little things that we do. But for me, it's really leading by example.
And it takes patience, right?
Yeah.
It takes patience
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, you want to share your point of view?
Sure, and this might also somehow address what Jem said about guilt. I'd like to start off with that. When we start feeling guilty, I think we always, at least personally, from my experience and also having journeyed with other people, it's always pausing and asking yourself, where is the guilt coming from? Is it really yours or the expectation of other people? Whether you are a mother, a sibling, a father, or a friend. Because oftentimes, unconsciously, we take on expectations that are really not our roles. And if we don't stop and check ourselves, we're taking on 5 expectations, 5 people's expectations, and we lose ourselves in that. But if we're able to push that aside and say, what is mine and what is doable for me, given my capacity and my capability and all the realities of my life, then this is what I handle. This is what I hold on to. And if this is as much as I can give, whether it is for 3 months or just for the day, at least I know this is my space. And I'm protecting myself, I'm protecting the person I'm caring for. Because if I take on the energies of other people, even as the love giver, I will bring that to them. So it's really, I think we have to be clear about what is selfish, what is self-care, what is selflessness. And sure, you can find different definitions in Google and the internet. But at the end of the day, individually, what is selfish for you? What is self-care for you? What is selflessness for you? Only you can define that. And I agree with Ru and, I'm sorry, your name? Yona, that it is when we make changes. And it's going to be difficult when you rock the boat.
Especially to family.
Especially to family. Case in point, when my sister had gotten so used to me just doing everything she wanted. And after, the first time I said no, she really raised hell. And she comes back, what do you mean no? No. The more she got angry. And I just let her be. That's her issue. It's not mine. And it repeated several times before she realized that, okay, something's changing here. And that's her issue. Mine is keeping my boundaries. And it's difficult.
And she's
But
become
it's
accustomed to it as well. She's become accustomed to getting a certain way with you. So now that
She's still trying.
that it's breaking, obviously there would be some, that's beautifully said.
We always say, no is a complete sentence. It's just uncomfortable in the beginning. But as Thea said, How it falls on other people is not your problem. You should not even think of ways to explain yourself. And when you start doing that, no, eventually they will learn that you're honoring something. Maybe it's not boundary for them. But I want to really put an emphasis on this because whether you're taking care of a sick loved one, women, sorry, we're emotional laborers. We're expected to take on so much. And I'd be the first to tell you, maybe I had stage 4 cancer because, just like what Thea said, I picked up all the problems at home. That's why definition of roles. When someone is diagnosed with cancer and they get me as a coach, the first thing we do is we define roles. Who's going to take the patient to the hospital? Who's going to pick them up? Who's going to prepare the food? Who will help financially? If you cannot help financially, what's your contribution? Because no one love giver can take on all the things. Before you know it, you're the one being diagnosed with some form of disease. So I love what Thea said. Let's have a very distinct definition of what selfish is, what selfless is, and what self-care or self-love is. I posted in my wall about something about drawing boundaries, and a pastor called me out. He said, we were brought to love until we are depleted. And I said, respectfully, Pastor, I think the good Lord wants is a God of order. While He wants us to love, He wants us to love ourselves too. I'm not saying love ourselves first. Love ourselves too, right? I have had love givers walk in the center, not even wanting to take a pee because they don't want to leave their loved ones, or not wanting to go home from the hospital so they can sleep. But you see, if you go on months, weeks without sleeping, you cannot take care of your loved one. You have to be strong for them. I always say self-care for better patient care. We have spouses, and lucky for you if your spouse is very loving, but a lot of times no one will show up to love ourselves except us. So give yourself, as Ru said in the beginning, that permission to love yourself. I have held hands with people who are transitioning, and nobody ever said, I want more money or I want more of this. There's only one common thing. I wish I had more time to do the things I love to do. So that's my wish for this community, that at the end of your life you can say, anytime, Lord, I've done everything for you and for myself. Because anything that we do for others, we do for Him, right? So we were just talking in the podcast about being so cognizant that death is part of the process, because that's how we can live an intentional life. When you know that anytime, the Philippines and the whole world got shocked when Chef Gaite passed away at the prime of her life, 65, not ill. She came from a tour, from a visit to Morocco, Spain. And just like that, after her food empire expanded, I think she lived a full life. So let's all live a full life, even as love givers. Don't be afraid to go out. Spend time with friends so you can come back, as Thea said, with that energy that you want to bring in the space of your life. So with that, we end our session. Thank you so much for joining us. This is not the end. We continue to communicate and help each other.